everyone, Tia from Order of the Bookish here with another exciting author interview. I'm here with DL Hammons, who is a YA and mystery author. I'm so excited to have you here. We've talked before and we've worked together previously, specifically with Twist and Prick, and I know you have another book coming out called, oh no, sorry, Jerk and Prick, and now you have another one coming out called Twist. So can you tell me a little bit about the first two books and the third book coming out soon?
Prick and Jerk, both of them are YA mystery thrillers. They revolve around a character who I consider a cross between Sheldon Cooper of the Big Bang Theater, Big Bang, and the character from Breakfast Club, who was the kind of renegade. So it's a renegade with a very high intelligence level, but he is the outcast, and it takes place in a small town. And the book is told from the point of view of another girl who has some pretty dire circumstances happen to her, and it kind of brings the two of them together to figure out some deaths that are going on in their small town, and what they find out is shocking and kind of shakes the whole town to its core.
How is it juggling two points of views when you have to be in the mind of a guy and the mind of a woman? Because those are two very different mentalities.
It is, although the book is entirely told from the point of view of the girl, but I also have to be thinking about what's going on in Taggart. That is the boy's name in his mind, and I've actually had that question before because some of my other books I've written from a female point of view, and actually, just a kind of like side note, the reason why I use DL as my author name instead of my full name is because when I first started writing and submitting short stories under my full name, and I was writing from a female perspective, some of the feedback I was getting is that they didn't believe that a man could write from a female perspective. So I went to just my initials to try and keep them guessing whether or not I was male or female. But I've actually been really good at it. I mean, I have to give credit to my wife and my daughter who have give me a lot of feedback in terms of, especially in regard to snark. They're very good at snark. And female snark is different than male snark. I don't know if your followers would agree with that, but that's been my experience, and I will give a tip of cap to them to helping me kind of develop that along the way.
I love that you credit your wife and your daughters for helping you with that. Yes, I personally think that the male sense of humor and the female sense of humor tends to be a little bit different. But like, good for you for being able to do that successfully for so long. You said that you changed from your full name to DL, and did you see a difference in feedback when you did that?
I'm actually not seeing it at all, which is what my intentions were. I didn't want anybody to focus on a man is writing from a female or even vice versa. I just wanted to take that out of the equation.
That's awesome. I mean, like, that's really interesting that such a small tweak in a name has made such a difference in your feedback, especially since it's so easy for anyone to go on social media and see who you are and what you look like. But that's awesome that you made that switch. That's really good branding. One of the things I help authors with is choosing pen names for their brand. And the fact that you got that so early on before you started publishing is really great. So just following along those lines, are there any other kind of branding tips that you have for other authors starting out who don't know what to do with their name or their aesthetic or anything like that?
Well, I did debate early on whether or not to use a pen name because over the course of my run, I've actually written, although I have four published books, but I've actually written seven, and I'm writing on an eighth right now. And they're all different kind of genres. There's mystery, there's sci-fi, there's horror, and I debated whether or not to use a pen name for like my sci-fi writing, to use a pen name for that as opposed to my real name. And I debated back and forth, and I decided the simple fact of it is I didn't want the headache of having to balance using two different, am I this name now, or am I this name? I just said I'll let the readers figure it out. So, considering whether or not you want to use a pen name is something to consider. Also, early on, when I first started writing, I wrote a blog, which, blogs are becoming less and less popular with, all the social media that's out there now. Blogging is not really hip, but I started writing in 2008 and 2009, and blogging was just getting going then. So, and the reason why I started was a blog because one of my first books, the character was a blogger, and I had never done that before. So I started blogging as a way to do a little bit of research. So that while I was blogging, you kind of have to figure out who you want to be on the internet. Who do you want to come across as? Do you want to come across dry-witted? Do you want to come across flirty? Do you want to come across real serious faced? And it took a while for me to land on not just what I wanted to be, but what actually gave me the most positive reaction, positive feedbacks back. And so I did that in the blogging world. Nowadays, I think new writers, when they're getting out there, they're having to do that on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky and all those. They're having to figure out, who they want to be. And my suggestion to them would be is figure it out before you start doing it. Don't start doing it one way and then change, because you're going to confuse anybody who's trying to follow you.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Now, our form of blogging is very public, and as much as you want to delete something, you can't really delete your history off of social media. It's always going to be there in some way. So, if your voice changes drastically from one tone and voice to another overnight, people are going to notice. So I think that's great that you started off with blogging. I have multiple blogs. I have my books for movies. I have Order for Bookish, and then plus all the social media sites. And I try to maintain consistency, but it's always hard because my voice changes throughout the years. As I grow older, the way I speak and the words that I use changes. Have you seen that happen with yourself as well? Because you started blogging a while ago. Is the way you blogged originally different than your voice that you use in your books now?
Yes, I would consider when I first started, I was more whimsical,
Mhm.
and now I guess I would consider myself more serious in what I blog and what I talk about.
Mhm.
Um, and like you said, I think that's just a factor of being 15, 16 years older than when I started.
So, do you find any inspiration either just in plot or writing style or your tone of voice from any other authors?
Well, I try to read as much as I can in the genre that I'm writing. And although, I mean, I write in all kinds of different genres, but my go-to has always been mystery thriller. So I love mystery thrillers, and I'm a big Agatha Christie fan. I mean, I started with her. Actually, I started with the Hardy Boys. And when I got older, I went with Agatha Christie and um, John Le Carre and um, Ed McBain and Robert Parker. Just old school. That's where I guess I dug in and said this is what I kind of want to write. But as I've grown older and I continued reading, I've expanded that and kind of adapted to what you're seeing out there now with
Mhm.
the Freedom McFadden's and all that, and how popular they are. You have to adapt. You have to. I mean, you could stay in your lane and just do what you've always done, but for me, I find it's more logical to adapt and try and I don't want to say mimic, but because that doesn't do it justice to call it mimicking, but it's you want to kind of um, learn from them and apply it to your own work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always recommend to all authors, especially when starting out, to tell your story, but also you want to balance that with writing to market. You don't want to charge someone for a book when it doesn't align with the current interest of what that market is. So it sounds like you're pulling inspiration from classical or classic writers within your genre, giving you your own spin, but making sure that you are writing to what people expect and want to read in these current times. Is that correct?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I guess I would say that I'm writing to what they currently expect, but I'm using the same, I don't want to say tricks, but the same kind of plot twist and the same
Mhm.
kind of the 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 technical way that they played with their plot.
Mhm.
I try to. I guess that's ingrained in me now, so it's always going to come through.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, don't mess with perfection. If the way that it was originally when they set it up works today, you might as well keep it going. And that goes for any kind of story. We have the story arcs of like the Odyssey and all of Homer's books and Shakespeare, and we're still using a lot of the way they wrote and set up storylines and plots today. Don't mess with perfection.
There you go. Yep.
Hmm. So, in writing to market, can you tell me a little bit about what the difference would be between like a YA mystery thriller and an adult mystery thriller?
Hmm. Well, for me, and that's a topic that I've had several debates with because we're both on TikTok
Mhm.
and I have seen posts on TikTok about readers who kind of put their nose up to YA books because they think they're dumbed down
Hmm.
for the younger readers.
Yep.
I don't write that way. When I'm writing YA, it's my characters are young, my
Hmm.
characters are in high school, but the plot, the what's going on in the book, the drive in the book is I don't want to say adult themed, but
Hmm.
it will play to the adult mind.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing YA, it's just the characters that changes for me, not the way I write or the intelligence that I put into it. When I'm writing adult books, I'm doing the same thing just with adult characters.
Hmm.
I don't in my books, I don't have any spice. I don't have any um, hot romantic entanglements. So me having to take that out when I'm writing YA is not a big thing for me.
Yeah, that is one of the big debates amongst TikTokers and the book community in general is should spice be in books geared for the younger audience as in under 18? I write in YA too, and I don't have any spice in my books. If I was ever going to write spice, I would very clearly state it as adult content. And I think the same for any like really, really dark, deep subjects. I'd probably gear it towards more towards adults. But yeah, I write the same YA genre, so I totally understand. Um, let's talk about TikTok for a minute. Hot take, how do you feel about TikTok pre-ban and now post-ban now that it's back up?
Um, I'm kind of I don't feel as steady on my feet as I did before because I don't like the whole way that it went down and came back up. I'm suspicious. I'm cautious. I'm although I'm not going to abandon it because I'm an indie author. I have to use
Yeah.
every social media outlet that I can, which TikTok is one of them, one of the bigger ones actually for
Mhm.
indie authors. So can't really run away from it. Although, and I will say, if I wasn't an author, I might run away from it. I just can't. So I am very cautious and um, maybe nervous is a good term too about what the future holds. And I'm watching it very carefully. I don't know about you, but I'm watching the developments very carefully.
Hmm. I was watching it carefully until the ban actually happened, and now I'm not going to watch it carefully at all. I always recommend to all authors and book influencers, really anyone who utilizes social media for their living, to not put all their eggs in one basket. So TikTok is just one of many tools that you should be using. My top two platforms is always going to be Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram because you have that really quick ability to go viral and to reach a large audience in one moment. But Pinterest is really good for just long term. So I have pins that I put up 2 years ago and it's still getting clicks and still getting views, and people are still buying my book and other things just from a pin that I put up 2 years ago. So those are my two that I love, but I will continue to use all the platforms. Honestly, I was relieved for the 12 hours that TikTok was not available. I was like, yes, one less thing to stress about, but it's back up now. So I will continue posting as much as I possibly can manage.
I
So
enjoy your post.
thank you. I should get up on more often. I just have so much to do and I'm like, oh, I don't want today to be a TikTok day. I
Okay.
see you on TikTok most often. You are also a little bit active on Instagram and you have a beautiful website, beautifully designed website. For any authors who need an author website, I highly encourage you to go look at this one because the way it's set up is exactly the way that you want an author website to be set up. So can you tell me a little bit about like what marketing campaigns you do, and just generally what you're working on to get your book out there?
It kind of changed over time. For like when I first came out with Prick, which was my first book, when it first hit the market, I went wide with all kinds of marketing strategies on Facebook, on Instagram. I mean, paid ads, paid Instagram ads, working with you on TikTok, and some other avenues that you can find, blog tours and all that. But then when Jerk came out, which was a pop about 7 months after Prick came out, I uh, ran with a slimmer budget, and I wanted to kind of cast off the popularity of Prick because it was a follow up to Prick. So
Mhm.
I was hoping that the popularity of Prick would draft in a lot of readers without going big on marketing spend.
Yeah.
And it was kind of it didn't go as well as I hoped
Mhm.
because I did fall off, and I'm still learning which when you where you spend your dollars and what gives you your biggest bang for the buck. Me personally, when I tried to do Facebook ads, they kind of fell flat. I didn't see any bump in sales. When I tried to do Amazon ads, they kind of fell flat. When I did promoting on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, those actually just regular Facebook posts, not Facebook ads,
Mhm.
just regular posts. And I actually spent the money myself, and I signed up for subscription for Canva. I'm not sure if you are you
Oh, I
familiar with
love
that?
Canva. Yeah, I use
Okay.
it daily.
Okay. So I use that to develop my own graphics and all that so that I could post on Facebook and Instagram and use it in TikTok. So I decided to develop it myself, not pay other people to do it or pay other people to develop ads, do it myself. And that's actually worked out better for me. It works doing it myself, but other people may not have the bandwidth to do it or have the motivation to do it or the money to do it. Yeah, there's three things you have to think about.
Yeah, the struggle of being self-published is that you wear many hats. You are not only the writer, you are also your own publisher, you're your own editor, and you're your own marketing expert. And marketing in and of itself is many, many hats. Content creator, the posting, the advertising, all of it.
And they're all different skill sets. I
Hmm.
mean, a writer is not necessarily a marketer, and I've struggled with that because I'm an introvert. Doing interviews, going on TikTok with videos and all that is totally against my nature, but you have to do it. You have to do it if you want to get your books out there. Other people, other writers, it comes more easily to them. So
Hmm.
they're a step ahead of the game for them.
Yeah.
But you do what you have to do.
Absolutely, you do what you have to do. I'm also a hard introvert, and I know it doesn't seem that way because I come on to social media with all this high energy, but I'm currently wearing sweatpants, and as soon as we're done, I'm gonna go lay in bed and read a book. I work myself up to this is why I pre-schedule meetings in advance. So I know when the meeting's gonna be. I can work on just, putting my power energy up so that I can come on here with full energy. And I do the same thing for marketing my book, marketing Order for Bookish because this is what it takes. It takes showing up, showing your face to the world, making sure people know you and understand you, and making that connection. And it takes energy.
It does. It does.
Hmm.
And it's and it's energy that you have to constantly invest in,
Yeah.
um, because you can't sit back on your laurels, although you may want to. But if you sit back on your laurels and let it just coast, um, being an indie publisher, your book sales will fall off. I mean,
Mhm.
people are quick to forget about you, unless you get in their face.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. You have to constantly be showing up as much as you can with as much energy as you can, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you tried, you maybe made a mistake, or you did successfully that you want to tell other authors to do or not to do? Like, what's your one big lesson?
I guess the biggest thing for me is, um, there are a lot of, if you go, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Yeah, I found out how to be a writer by blogging, by the blogosphere. I went to other writers' blogs and found out how to be a writer and how to be a marketer, and how all to do that. And um, what I one of the biggest things I learned is that there's not one true way to do it. Although people try to tell you that you need to write every day, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, that's not necessarily true. Not everybody's made the same way. I don't write every day. I don't need to. Now, when I do write, it takes me a little bit longer to get back into the characters. But I find I function better doing that than writing every day, because for me, I can't write when I'm not motivated.
Mhm.
Just to write, like today's Tuesday, I got to write on Tuesday. But if I'm not motivated to write, what I produce isn't going to be something that somebody's going to want to read. So my big takeaway would be, there is no one way. Figure it out for yourself. Pick and choose what works, and you'll get there.
I love that advice. Figure it out for yourself. Very inspirational.
But kind of, he's a little bit hard nosed too. But it's, I guess, I mean, there are people who kind of like fall in line. Okay, I've seen how this person's doing, I'm going to do it exactly like they do it. um and that may work for them. It
Mhm.
just didn't work for me. And it's just, that's why I say it's my advice, is that don't feel, and going back to the one person who wants to follow somebody, if they're not, in their mind, if they don't think that they're living up to what they thought they should be doing based on following this one person, they get depressed. They start thinking they're not doing it. Well, my advice is, just because you're not doing it like they're doing it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
Mhm.
Figure it out a different way. And if you're a writer and you want to tell a story, it will find a way to come out.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of being self-published is that one, our whole community is very, very forgiving. So we all know that this is a long haul thing, this is a journey, and we're going to change along the way. We're going to make mistakes. So it's okay to experiment and it's okay to try one way, whether it be writing, marketing, publishing, and then change your mind and do it differently later on. Like if you're struggling with writing consistently, experiment with a bunch of different ways. See how the classic writers did it, do it their way, and then figure out what works for you by just experimenting.
Yep. And it'll feel right. When you find something that works for you, it will feel right.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll feel right. It might take a little practice to actually get the hang of it and, be consistent with whatever your method is, but yeah, you'll know when you get it right. So I do want to do a hot take. Just because it's so relevant in our community right now. I know it's all over TikTok all the time. I recently discovered an author, a very popular author, who used AI, got caught using AI, and not just AI like on a cover and their marketing or anything like that, but AI actually in the book. They had
Uh,
left a chat GPT response that said something like, yes, here is your updated information for this character. Feel free to make any adjustments to this passage. And it literally posted the passage and the response. So let's talk about AI for a second. What are your thoughts, just in general, about the use of AI within our industry?
Broad take, against it. More narrow take is, I did just look into it just because I was curious. What is this AI? and I personally didn't like the experience. Um, I push back on because I use tools like Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, and you know how they will give you suggestions
Yeah, those are
for
technically AI.
changing
Yeah.
of a word. Yeah, that's in a way that's kind of like AI
Mhm.
trying to rewrite your work, and I push back on a lot of that because to me it's changing my voice,
Yeah.
and you spend a lot of time developing that voice. And if you get into AI is not going to know your voice, and your
True.
readers are going to be able to tell that that's not your voice. Um, it's it's just a big cheat, and
Mhm.
it's not a good cheat, and it's not a realistic cheat. Um, I'm not for it. I'm also not for taking people's books against their will to train AI with. I know there's a lot of that going on.
Mhm.
I'm hard against that as well. I mean, this is my work. You should ask my permission, which I would not give. So um, that's a big area too.
Yeah, this is a big topic in our industry right now, and I like to ask authors this because so many authors have such different ideas of like where that line is between right and wrong ethically, and where we think we're going to be in the future. So, can you tell me where you think AI is going to be in the future? Because it's here and that's not really going away. So, what do you think is going to happen to the publishing industry because of this new technology?
I think trying to put on my binoculars for the future. I think that at some point there will be totally AI written books. Um, and I think they will sell poorly. I don't think people will buy them, but I think they will be out there. Um, and there will be people who I think there will be just because, I mean, there's a big, vast majority spread of people who are doing this work, and some of them are going to be enticed to use it as a crutch,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, so I think it is going to bleed into um, our books in the future. Where the line is and where it stops, that I can't say, but I will say, like I said, I think there will be some totally AI written books.
Yeah, it's already out there. I get emails from authors every once in a while, mostly of nonfiction authors who send me parts of their book and they want help marketing it. And I read them and I skim through it and I can tell immediately that it's AI because AI has that very particular voice, especially when it's unedited. That just sounds, it's cheesy and it's weird and no human being talks like that. So I look at these books and I'm like, look, author, insert author name. I would love to help, but I can't help you sell this. Like one, ethically, but also two, because readers are going to look at it and be like, no, this isn't good. So like there's no way for me to be able to help market a book that just isn't good and not human. So yeah, it's already hit the nonfiction industry and there's already nonfiction books written by AI getting very popular. And now it's kind of leaking into fiction, which scares me because I like getting paid by writing books and I don't want that taken away from me. So I hope it doesn't get too far. Like I hope we don't continue down this route. I'm okay with AI as an assistive tool like Grammarly to help us, not to take over our creative like jobs.
And I'd like to think that it won't happen. I think that people will push back against it. Yeah, AI has a place. I just don't think in a creative world with books and music and art, AI doesn't have a place there.
Yeah, I want AI to fold my laundry and vacuum my floors. That's what they should be doing. All right, it's been so great talking to you. I am so excited to look at Twist when you finally release it. Everyone, I'm going to put all of this author's links below so you can check out his Amazon, you can check out his website and all of his social medias. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, thank you so much for watching another author interview. I'm Tia from Order of the Bookish, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Tia.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another author interview with me. I'm Tia at Order of the Bookish. Make sure you subscribe to all the Order of the Bookish channels for more updates on news, trends, marketing tips, and self-published authors and their books, because we have so much coming this year and you don't want to miss out on any of it. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for the next author interview coming next Friday.